Hello and a very good morning to all of you. My name is Qasim Javed and I will be your host and presenter for the day where we take a look at how to make your websites more human, the do's and the do's. We will be recording this webinar from start to finish and will be sending copies to everyone along with the slide deck. We are going to wait a few more moments as I'm going to allow for everyone to join in. If you have any questions in the meanwhile, feel free to ask us using the GoToWebinar chat panel. You can also ask questions by tweeting to our official account, Live Admins, and using LA Webinar as the hashtag. Well, I see that we have a lot of people waiting for us to begin, so let's get started. Well, some of you already know me, but for those who don't, I head global marketing operations for Live Admins. I look after our company's entire online footprint and ensure that we stay ahead of our competition by deploying the latest techniques and tricks. You can ask me anything through my Twitter handle, which is on your screens right now. Let's set the order of today's webinar. First up, I will talk about what are human websites and why is it important to have them. Then we go in detail about how to create human websites. Once I finish talking about all of this, I open the floor for a Q&A session. Human websites are those which interact with their visitors using human sentiments aided by interface, usage, and engagement. There are four major components which are crucial to creating human websites: content, design, development, and engagement. How to go about it? Let's take a look at all of these in more detail. So you need to create smart content. Your website visitors are coming in from all across the world. You need to develop buyer personas based on age, gender, location, and their interests. Once you have all of that, you are better able to create and cater to your website visitors in a much more engaging and interactive way. You are able to write better content and content which engages with your website visitors. You also need to set up some personalization tools. For example, when a visitor returns to your website, he or she feels valued and has something to look forward to. SEO friendliness is very, very important. So whatever content you're writing for your website, you have to ensure that it is making the most sense not only for your website visitors, but also for your search engines. Search engines these days are getting very, very smarter. And if you're stuffing your content with a lot of keywords and not real value in it, people are going to ask that it's not going to add any value for them, and they are most likely going to drive away. Your website content also needs to be optimized for social sharing. You need to create some value addition for your website visitors. Now, if you want people to share your content across their social media profiles, there needs to be something that they haven't read before on the internet. Now, it can be some example that only you understand better. It could be something that your company is doing better than everybody else, but it has to have a value addition for your readers. Also, your website visitors are coming in from all across the world. Now, you cannot try and cater to everybody, but what you can do is you can try and cater to a wider audience, and you can do that by diversifying your product line or by writing about general topics as well. All of these combined, when put together, they are going to create your content which is much more shareable socially. Now, needless to say, your content has to be engaging as well. You need to produce more of what your visitors are going to share on their profiles. Now, it can sometimes be a content which is not really in line with your website concept or your company vision, but it needs to be engaging in a way that your audiences are finding it interesting and they are going to share it across their social media profiles. Your content also needs to be actionable. The call to actions need to be very well placed. If you are trying to stuff your content with call to actions which are text-based, they are likely not going to be very visible on your website. Now, you need to ensure that even if you want to do text-based call to actions, they are placed in a manner that they are visible and have a different font or color so that people are going to click on it. You also need to provide solutions to your website visitors' questions. You get website visitors for a reason. They're not there to just pass their time. They need to find answers to their problems. A good way of doing this is using feedback forms to see exactly how your website visitors are going to engage with you. And once you have the answers to all of that, you can create a website and offer solutions that solve your website visitors' problems. And this is getting very modern these days, and a lot of websites are doing it. Content is not just text-based anymore. It is rich content. It includes a lot of pictures. It includes lots of videos, and lots of animations and infographics. So try and accommodate all of these visual aids to support your content, thereby making it way much more engaging and socially shareable. Conversational content does the job for everyone these days. You cannot have some text on your website or some part of your website or give a solution which does not have real life examples. We are humans and we better connect with real life examples. So if I'm trying to put up something which people cannot even understand or can relate to, there's really no point of having it online. Needless to say, content is now becoming less and less formal these days. For blogs and for news releases and for other formal content, it has to stay a certain way. But website content is a whole different ballgame altogether. You need to keep it as less formal and more conversational in order for your website visitors and prospects to be engaged with you. We as humans are emotional creatures, and if there's a good story, it's really hard to resist to it. If your website can create a storyboard in a way that you're guiding your website visitors from path A to path B and onwards to C, and then get them to take a certain action through storytelling, that's amazing. And there are many websites which are doing this these days. Your content has to be engaging as well. Now, if you're selling something online, testimonials are a great way of increasing your sales. There will be a lot of people who are already buying your product, who are already satisfied with your product, or who may have a suggestion also. But if you can get your current clients to write testimonials about your product and services, and when you publish those testimonials online, it is going to help the website visitors who are coming onto your website for the first time, or who are maybe researching about your product, to know and understand your product and how it is going to help them in the actual sense of the word. Well, content is absolutely useless if it does not provoke thoughts. You need to write content in a way that people are going to take certain actions based on the way they are reading your content. Drive them to take an action. Make them do something by using good words, or by using sentence structures, or by using informative aids, such as maybe include text in a much more engaging way, add GIFs to it, add videos, or add infographics to it. But it needs to induce a certain action. Without it, content is really useless. Feedback is very important. I talked about this before as well. If you can get feedback from your current customers, or maybe your website visitors, by using contact forms, you need to see what they are looking for. Sometimes you may think that you're designing something which is really interesting and will attract your audiences, but the audience might think completely different. They may or may not like your content. And if you are taking regular feedback, chances are you're going to continuously improve your products and services, and also design your website in a way that serves the needs of everybody. Our second area of discussion today is design. While it's important from an aesthetic point of view, website design involves more than just the outlook. It shapes your online presence as a whole by integrating familiar elements. Design cues are something which are our first impressions when we land on a website. Most of the times when we land on a website, we make up about, we take about 5 to 10 seconds to think about how good the website design looks like, how much we are likely going to be trusting that website, how much likely are we going to end up doing business with them. So if you're arranging your websites or web pages content in a clear and coherent manner, by placing text where it needs to belong, by having good banners and good imagery, people are going to take these design cues and then go on and explore your website further. Social icons are becoming the race these days, and needless to say, you need to have well-placed social icons. You can maybe include them in your website's footer, or maybe as a sidebar, but they need to be there in order for people to connect with you on all the social media channels that you're present at. If you're not present on a social media channel, it's probably a good time to start investing in that as well. User interfaces is something that allows people to communicate and engage with your website by using familiar design elements that they're most commonly exposed to these days. People are consuming content from all across the world. They are using all kinds of devices. You need to have a user interface that is not only trending, but it is liked and preferred by a wider audience. Design adds a lot of character to your website. Whenever you're designing a website, whether you're a new business and you're just launching your website, you need to design a design guideline. It usually contains of your website theme, the colors that you're going to use, your primary colors, your secondary colors, your tertiary colors, your typography, your line spacing and height, and lots of other elements which when put together form a design guideline. So this serves as a good measure and a good rule book for all the future designers and developers to come in and use these design guidelines to keep a consistent brand image. Now, when you're designing your website, you are not just going to use one developer. You're not just going to use one designer for it. In order to provide a consistent experience, you have to ensure that the design guideline is being followed in letter and spirit. Consistency is also very important. You may have 5-page website, you may have a 500-page website. It needs to look coherent. It needs to be consistent across all the pages. If you have a page which is not following your design guidelines or is off by maybe is using a different text, it's using a different color, it does not have a standard banner, it's going to look off. People are going to find that odd and are less likely going to be trusting that website. Visitor experience is everything, and it should not have any inconsistencies at all. Brand personas are very, very important. You have to create a unique brand personality for your website. Most of the times these days, companies are already present and they have some sort of brand personalities. And when they're looking to revamp their website, they generally tend to accommodate all of their company's brand persona in that website. If you're a new business and are starting up, it's a good idea to establish a branding guideline and your public relationing policies so that you have a brand persona. And when you're designing that website, it needs to reflect in all the manners. You also have to be very creative and original with your design. Now, photography is something that is becoming very important these days for website design. There are lots of stock imagery available. People are using lots of stock pictures on their websites, but I wouldn't suggest using stock pictures. I would suggest you hire a professional photographer. They are very cheap these days, and they can really do the job very nicely. If you have a photographer take pictures for your website, go ahead and use those pictures on your website. It's going to add a very human and a very relatable experience for most of your website visitors. And same goes for personalized graphics as well. There are lots of freebies on the internet. People are going to be using all kinds of free stuff that's available on the internet. Our first hunch is to use the free stuff, but let's not do that. Let's try and hire a graphic designer who knows his way and can create custom icons or imagery for you. That's really going to add a lot of character to your website. Well, team pictures are very, very important. People like to connect with actual people. It is a very good suggestion to have pictures of your team members on your website. And if you can include their Twitter profiles or LinkedIn profiles, people are not only going to connect with them on those social media platforms, but they're also going to think of you as a trustworthy source who are not shy to display what the company is comprised of. Design has to be responsive. Now, I cannot stress enough of the importance of responsiveness. Like I said before, websites are generally designed with a lot of thought in mind. People are using websites from all kinds of devices. We are using laptops, we are using tablet devices, we are using mobile phones. So you have to ensure that your website's navigation is not only easily visible, but people can actually use it from all devices in a very easy to understand way. Sometimes websites make a really nice looking top level menu, but when I view those websites from a mobile device or a tablet device, the menu just kind of becomes something else, and that's not something that that I prefer or I kind of appreciate. Another very important thing in design when you're designing, when you're thinking about responsiveness, is to design your website in a column-based structure. You can maybe have 4 columns, 6 columns, 8 columns, or 12 columns. Now, the idea is to divide your web page width in equal columns. So your website, when it is being developed by your developers, can easily be made responsive for all the devices. And like I said before, branding has to stay consistent for all kinds of devices, whether it's a mobile, whether your tab devices, or whether it's your browser sizes, which are usually not very common. You have to ensure that all your branding guidelines exist on all the places. Design needs to provide an immersive experience. Now, um, as per our current technologies, you need to tap into as many human senses as possible. Now, we cannot tap into all 5 right now, but what we can tap into is the sense of vision, the sense of hearing, and the sense of touch. So design your website in a way that people are not only looking at your website, but they get to hear something, which can mean videos, and they get to touch around and play with your website. So maybe you can include a few animations, you can include a few games on your website, which people can play from their mobile devices or tablet devices, but it's going to tap into as many human senses as possible, and visitors will be engaged at an emotional level with your website. Another good way of delivering an immersive experience is to use animations in your website. You need to use animations in a very nice and subtle way. So you may have a website which is going to explain 5 steps of something. So you can maybe consider, instead of having 5 different pages, you can maybe consider having one animation which explains the 5 steps in detail. Animations are becoming very common these days, and a lot of companies are using it to draw visitor attention and prompt actions. Visual hierarchy is very, very important. You have to ensure that you are highlighting the most important elements on your website so that visitors can focus on them. Now, if you want people to take action on maybe an image on a certain web page, you need to ensure that that image has enough of a landscape or is getting enough real estate on your website. But if the image is really small and is not really visible, and a text which does not mean anything for the visitors is getting, the more of the space on that web page, it's not going to create something which is totally immersive. So please ensure that whenever you're designing your website, you are giving every element the right space it deserves. Now, I like to go forward to the next chapter, but I just thought, let's start a poll and ask you a question. So, do you guys, of all of those who are attending, are you using these design elements while designing your websites? I'm going to launch the poll right now, and I'm going to give you about 30 to 40 seconds to launch in your answers. So, start clicking away. All right, so I'm going to quickly share the results of the poll with all of you as well. A staggering 83% of you think that they are using these design elements, which is great. So that means you guys are moving in the right direction to make your websites more human. So let's move on to our third area of focus for today, which is development. Now, a strategically planned and expertly developed website can make all the difference in the world. Your website is your sales team, basically, more like a virtual sales team. You would want to use it to draw customers to walk through your virtual door by adding innovation to your development. Now, this is a bit technical, and I'm going to take some time to explain it. You have to think different when you're developing your website. You have to create and engage with as many new technologies as possible whenever they make sense for your business, of course. But try using Bootstrap, HTML5, or WordPress, which are the new technologies in place right now. But kind of a new trend that is kind of emerging is usage of bots on websites. Now I visit a lot of websites on a daily basis, and there are some websites on which bots are actually guiding visitors on how to take the next steps, on how to go about it. If they are looking for certain information, the bots have that information ready already. And I kind of feel that bots are, while they're never going to take over humans, but they are actually going to help website experience transform into something which we never imagined before. So whenever you're designing this, you need to ensure that you have something which is unique and modern. And talking about unique and modern, you have to ensure that your website is as flexible for future updates as possible. Now, gone are the days when websites used to be made for good 5-7 years and then forget about it. I remember when I launched my first business, I made a website and then I didn't look at it for the next 5-6 years. But um, such times are gone now. People are constantly evolving. Our technologies are constantly evolving. Our preferences are constantly changing. We have to ensure that whatever we are making today is going to last not only for the next maybe let's say 2-3 years, but you have to ensure that after those 2-3 years you have something else accommodated on your website. Otherwise, you're going to just run out of business and people are not going to come back to you. Um, you also have to ensure that whatever you're doing can support future updates as well. So you might try and put an infrastructure in place which is going to support such future updates, because especially for blogs or news publishing websites, it's not really easy to change their website every single day. But while you're doing that, don't forget user friendliness. Navigation is very, very important. You have to ensure that whoever your visitor is, wherever they're coming from, whatever age group they belong to, they are able to easily understand your website design and can navigate their way throughout. So if you want them to take a certain action, and if your website looks a clutter, they won't find information on where to go or how to go about it. So navigation has to be really, really simple, and it needs to ensure as least clicks as possible. So a good rule of thumb is whatever information is available on your website, it needs to be accessible within 3 clicks. If you're using more than 3 clicks, chances are people are going to drop off because our attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter. So if you're trying to bury something deep into the menus, it's not really a good suggestion, and you might consider moving it a level up. Needless to say, you have to keep it simple as possible, because if you're not keeping it simple, people are not really going to understand what your company is all about. So a good idea to do this is by creating an About Us page. Your company information pages are going to help people understand who you are, what your business is, and how to get in touch with you. You can maybe create a timeline of how your company started, and it's going to really add value for your website visitors. But development is nothing if it is not compatible. Now, we are consuming content across the world on all kinds of devices. We are using tablets, we are using mobiles, we are using laptops. And within those devices, we are using lots of browsers. So we are using sometimes Chrome. I personally like Safari. People are using Firefox as well. And then there are lots of people who don't even prefer mobile devices. They are only going to consume content on desktops or laptops. So you have to ensure that whatever you're developing, it supports all kinds of platforms. So it needs to be working absolutely fine on Windows. It needs to work absolutely fine on Mac. It needs to support all the major browsers around these days, which some of them are Chrome, Safari, Edge, by Microsoft. And it needs to, of course, be responsive on all the devices. So whether you're viewing it from a tab or a mobile phone, it needs to deliver an optimum experience. The keyword here is really to deliver a seamless experience. If you can manage to do that, then that's great, and people are going to connect with you on a deeper level. But SEO friendliness is also very, very important when you're talking about development. Now, it is an entire world in itself, and it does require a lot of post-launch work, or something more which is of an ongoing process. But you have to ensure that you are keeping some SEO elements in mind while you're developing your website. Now, use of heading tags is very, very important if you want your site to be ranked in front of the search results. But most developers, what they're doing these days are they're not using the optimal quantity of heading tags. Now, the best practice in terms of SEO is to use one H1 tag on a page, and it needs to include your company's top keyword. But you have to ensure that you're using H1 just once. And not more than that, because this is going to affect your website's visibility. But you also have to ensure that you're not using H2
more than 3 to 4 times in a page, well, otherwise, because Google is going to consider your website as a spam website, and it will think as you're trying to over-optimize it. You can, but if you really want to use other tags, you can use H3 tags as many times as possible. You can also, you have to ensure that your URL structures or permalinks are easy to understand by humans. Now, we as humans are likely going to be trusting a URL which looks easy to understand and which tells me exactly what kind of content it is. Keywords, you can try to put as many keywords in your URLs. It is still a good thing. But if you have a URL which does not explain what the URL is all about, or has a text which is more than 100 characters, it's probably a good idea to rewrite them and shorten them and make them more concise to add value for your website visitors. Now, internal linking is also very important in SEO. You may be a company which has lots of pages. You may be writing a blog or publishing lots of press releases, but there's really no point of publishing lots of content on a regular basis if you're not linking it internally to your resources, such as flyers or maybe ebooks or brochures or maybe your product pages. The idea of writing content on a regular basis is to drive people to take action by linking them internally to your website. And if you're not doing that, then there's really no point of doing any of it. Now, you also have to ensure that you're optimizing your website during development. And I cannot stress enough on the importance of this. Whatever elements you're using on your web page, they're likely going to affect your site speed. So for example, if you're using lots of imagery on your website and you're putting in lots of videos on your website, it is going to slow your site down. But a good idea is to have your site loaded within 5 to 7 seconds. If it is taking more than 5 to 7 seconds, people are not going to stick around for too much. That's from my personal experience, because if your sites take more than 30 seconds to load or maybe more than 15 seconds to load, people will close your website and they will go away. So how to optimize your site speed? You can maybe consider reducing the quality of the images, or maybe optimize them in terms of their loading times. Maybe host them on a different server. Maybe use them from a web-based interface. So if your website is not taking a lot of time to load, the website experience is going to transform altogether. Now, data optimization is also very important. It's a little technical, so I'm going to take some time to explain this. On a web page, there's lots of content which is available these days. So there's text, there's lots of imagery, you are using some videos, some infographics, and visual aids. But if you're not writing alt tags or alternative tags for your data, the crawlers or the search engines are not going to crawl your website. And they are going to think that the only text that you were writing is the only text that exists on your web page. If you are putting in alternative tags for your pictures or your videos, then the search engines are going to consider that as part of your website and are going to then rank your website that much better compared to your competitors. Now, metadata is also very, very important. Search engines, when they are crawling your website, they're looking for this information only, and they are looking to rank your website as to how well you've written your metadata. If you're not doing it properly, if you do not have any metadata in place, they're usually going to think that your website is spammy or your website does not contain enough information. So ensure that all the pages on your website, they do have meta descriptions written for them. Otherwise, search engines are going to downgrade your website. Well, that brings me to the last chapter for today. And after taking care of all the previous areas, if you're not engaging with your website visitors, then there's really no point of having a website altogether. Our attention spans over the internet, have reduced. There's so much content to consume that we can hardly stick to one place for more than a few minutes. Your competition is also growing. People are trying to attract your clients to their services. So you have to ensure that you are engaging with your website visitors and your clients by offering proactive recommendations to drive more engagement. Now, how you can do that? And most websites these days, they have Google Analytics support on their website. So it really gives you a good idea of how your visitors are traveling throughout your website from point A to point B to point C. If you can have a closer look at it, you can maybe then figure out what your website visitors are consuming. And if it's not the right content, or if it's not in line with what your company objectives are, you can maybe try and customize your website in a way that users are directed to those areas of the website where you want them to take an action. Another good idea is to have related content. Now, you may have lots of blog posts, or you may have solution pages, but and you may even be an e-commerce website. But if you're not giving them related content or something that can maybe add to their value, it's really going to leave people right there where they were before. If they're reading a blog post, it might be a good idea to offer them a free ebook or maybe a free flyer, or something which can add to their knowledge. It's really going to drive a lot of engagement on your website. Now, the third point in this section is suggestions. Now, on every web page, it's a good idea to tell your visitors how to go about it and how to move on from one point to the second point. Uh, Usually websites which have long sign-up forms, what they do is they put up numbers of how many steps are there, and it really tells the users of how much time it's going to likely take whenever they're trying to do something. And for websites which are doing e-commerce, it's a good idea to offer suggestions beneath when they're trying to check out, and it's likely going to add to your sales and eventually give you that much more revenue when they're trying to check out. But effective call to actions are also driving lots of engagement. Now, I've talked about this before as well, but placing your call to actions is very, very important. You have to place them in a way that is easily visible to your website visitors. If you are placing your call to actions buried deep under the text or images, people are not going to click on it. And then there's really no point of having them there. Also, if you are lots of websites which are involved in B2B businesses and e-commerce, they are offering lots of free demos and free stuff for people to check out before they actually buy their product. So please ensure that whatever you're offering, it's anything that's free. It sounds very tempting, but it needs to have some meaningful value for your website visitors. Because if they don't find it meaningful, it's not no matter how good your website is and how good your product was. If it's not going to add anything to their portfolio or their knowledge base, it's going to be useless, and people are not going to come back to you. But social media integration is now driving the biggest engagement these days. You have to ensure that you are present on social media. If you're not, you must be present on social media. But when you are on social media, you have to ensure that your website traffic can easily move back and forth between your website and your social media channels, so that it is not dropping out of your world, for example, or of your company's world that exists online. So you have to ensure that your website is consistent along with your social media channels, so people can relate to it and can keep seeing what they were looking for in related ads on all the social media platforms. You also have to ensure that your content is easily shareable. Now, you have to do this by placing icons for famous social media profiles such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and there's so many other social media platforms as well, that you have to place those icons everywhere on your website where you want people to share and to engage with your website. If you do that, chances are people are going to be that much more engaged with your website. Now, live feeds is something that's gaining lots of interest these days. Twitter used to do what a lot of websites used to do, was to integrate Twitter on a web page, and then whenever you're posting online on Twitter, your website is going to show those results, and people could actually interact with them, retweet it from within that little space, maybe share it on their Twitter feeds as well. But if you can, what you can do is something which is unique and something which is not being done by a lot of websites, is to integrate a video live feed on your website. Now, you may have a product or service which you want to demo to your prospects. Now, videos are a great idea of doing it, but if you can include a live feed, or maybe you can include a session every single day from, let's say, 1 p.m. CST to 2 p.m. CST, where people can come to your website and see in real time what you're offering, maybe a new model of a automobile or something else. It's going to really push your website visitors and your prospects to keep coming back and check out for more information from your website. This is another very interesting element, and And it happens a lot. I visit lots of websites on a daily basis, and sometimes I get error pages. Usually error pages are bland, boring pages where it doesn't give me any information that I was looking for and tells me to simply go back to home page. But it's a good idea to actually include some tips and tricks on the error pages, so that people, when they do not find the information they're looking for, they at least have a chance to smile, and think of something that that the company thought about well beforehand. You can maybe also include a search bar in it for your visitors to search related content, whatever they were looking for. Um, I also ended up, on a 404 error page that had a very nice animated little game on it. So maybe it's a good idea to have that as well. But customer support offers the best engagement. You need to ensure that people are easily able to contact you. You need to have your company's corporate client customer service number on your website. You need to have the option to email you. You need to also have the option for people to actually contact you using a contact form, which needs to be embedded somewhere on your website, somewhere where it's visible. A good idea is to include it in the footer. You can maybe have a contact us page, which is uniquely identifiable when people visit your website. But if you want people to take too many steps before they contact you, they're not really going to connect with you on a personal level. For brands which are big, they are not only present online, but they're also present in person. They have retail centers, they have phone lines, they have email addresses that they're catering to. So you need to deliver a consistent customer service experience across all channels. Now, if you have, for example, a hold time of about 5 seconds or maybe 10 seconds when people are calling you, you need to ensure that a similar level or a better level of customer support is offered when people are visiting your social media pages or your website. Now, websites these days are also doing something very interesting. Now, people are used to this, and people are engaging with their websites in whichever way they want. But live chat is becoming a tool that is fast gaining momentum, and people are integrating live chat technologies on their websites so that people are not only served with customized greetings and offers, but people are also connecting with those web businesses in a much more interactive and engaging way. It offers real-time support, and it gives people the ability to, whenever they're coming back, to find the information that they were looking for in a very, very less time. Live Admin's live chat does exactly that. We offer you a 24/7 managed solution. We connect with your website visitors, we engage with them, and once we have prospects which are interested in buying from you, we send you an immediate notification so that people can, your business or your sales team can instantly connect with them and follow up on them. And whatever we have discussed today, it might seem a lot, but trust me, we do have a technology in place that helps you manage all of it with very little hassles. Some of our features are that we are always proactive. We are going to serve notifications, and we are going to send customized greetings to all your website visitors, whether it's 5,000 or it's 50,000 or could be 500,000, for example. Our greetings are going to be served to every single website visitors of yours. And needless to say, our service is completely responsive. So if you have your website set up and you're using our technology, we are going to be available to your website visitors coming in from mobile devices, from tablet devices, or whether they're coming in from laptops or desktops. Also, we are multilingual. We speak 5 global languages. So we have native speakers in English, German, French, Spanish, and Arabic. So your website visitors, majority of them are going to be speaking one of these languages. And because we understand and we have native speakers, our chat agents speak these languages natively, and they are positioned all across the world, are going to cater to your website visitors in whatever language they are going to talk about. And of course, needless to say, we are going to be present online all the time. We are 24/7, 365 days a year, and we never stop. Our services never goes offline. Whether it's Christmas or whether it's Independence Day, we are going to be live all the time. In order for you to get more information about us, I have some contact information on the website right now. You can also see it on your screens. We have our direct lines. You can send an email to info@liveadmins.com. Right then. So we've reached the end of our discussion for today. I'll open the floor now for questions. Let me see if I have some right now. Okay, so the first one is Matthew from Chicago, and he says that I currently run an e-commerce website. What can I do to reduce my shopping cart abandonment issue? Now, it's a good question, and I think I touched on this point while in the presentation as well. You need to ensure in your shopping cart pages because getting people to see your products is easy. Getting people to actually buy them is where the difficulty is, difficulty lies. So you need to have clearly defined steps, Matthew, first of all. People should be able to understand how to go from choosing a product, from searching a product to selecting it to buying it and then checking out using their billing options. It needs to be clearly defined, and it doesn't need to have any clutter on it. It needs to be clearly defined. So I've seen lots of e-commerce websites which have lots and lots of information while I'm trying to check out. And before I could actually realize, I ended up closing the websites because they were offering way too much information for my liking. And another good idea of reducing your shopping cart abandonment is to subscribe to our service. And what we will do is we will deploy a live chat agent who is going to be present on the shopping cart page, and we are going to help your website visitors navigate from whatever steps you have, from step 1 to step 2 and maybe all the way to step 5. Our chat agents are going to be sitting there in a secured environment so that nobody's going to access that information, and they're going to help your website visitors check out while they're on your website, and it's going to reduce your shopping cart abandonment rate by a huge degree. I have another question from Amanda, and she's asking from Michigan that how can I reduce the bounce rate on my website, and what is the best way to engage the traffic? It's a good question. Again, so bounce rate depends on a multiple factors. It depends on how much fast your website loads. Load times, if they are a lot, if it's more than 15 seconds or 20 seconds, people are going to close your website and are eventually going to add to your bounce rate. And if your content is not really engaging, so if you are having something on your website which is too technical for people to understand, they are likely going to close your website and will move away to somebody else. Another good way of reducing your bounce rate, like I talked before, is live admins. And what we do is basically our technology is developed in such a way that all your website visitors, whether they are your returning visitors or whether they are new visitors, they are going to be served website greetings based on whatever you want us to serve, all of them without any delays. So we are going to connect with your visitors in an engaging way, and we are going to ensure that they are not going away without getting the information that you wanted them to have. And we not only do that, we also build relationships with them. So if they are coming back for something, we will know exactly when they were on your website before and what is it that they're looking for this time, and we are going to build a customer journey and tell you exactly how it's going to help them. Now, I have, I think, time for one more question before I let you guys go. And all the unanswered questions will be answered through email. So I have Steve from Texas, and he says that my target audience consists of millennials, and what kind of content is most suitable for this audience? Now that's an easy one, Steve. Millennials are all about social. They are socially well connected. They are hip. They are modern, and they are interested in content which is easy to understand. You have to give them visual cues. You have to give them visual elements to play with. You have to give them imagery, videos, and text. And that kind of content, which they're more likely going to be, sharing with their social circles. And if you can just cater to their needs through your website, it's going to add a great dimension. I'm afraid that's it we have from the Q&A session. Before I sign off, a quick reminder of how you can find us. On behalf of Live Admins, I thank you all for joining us today. You should see the recording in your inbox in the next few days, along with the slide deck. This recording is also going to be available on our website under the Resources tab. Thanks once again. Have a good weekend ahead. Bye-bye.